GMGAGE, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for our very first episode of Cup of Joe with W3JOE of 2026. I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday season. Hope everybody had a fantastic new year and is having a fantastic new year. This is, once again, Cup of Joe with W3JOE. That's Web3 Job Ops and Events. You'll see the main page is the main host on this spaces. They power these spaces. Last year, we did 2 spaces a week with 1 guest each show. This year, we're going to try to do 1 show a week with at least 2 guests on each show to give us more of like panel vibe, more collaborative conversation, hopefully add a little bit more value or at least unique value to our listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. Whether you're here listening to the recording on X, on YouTube, or Spotify, we appreciate you. We are here every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and we look forward to having you every time. Let's go ahead and introduce our honorable guests of the day. We have none other than Miss Dabblerer. She's the head of marketing at BitRobot Network, and we've also got Miss Jules Mossler. She's the founder of Common Fortune. Cannot wait to pick these ladies' brains today. Miss Dabblerer, let's say hi to you first. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday, happy 2026, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, good morning, or GM, good afternoon. Yeah, Happy New Year. I'm super excited to be on the space with Jules, and just chat how we can like start the new year strong around like understanding the job hunt process in crypto and share some of the, personal experiences and like anecdotes that have allowed me to get to where I am at BitRobot.
Absolutely. I know you're both very busy, so it means the world that you would stop by and share whatever insights you have to offer, which I know are plenty. Miss Jules, how are you doing? Happy Wednesday, happy 2026. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hey, what's good? It's morning in California, so everything is off to a sunny, beautiful start, and I'm wishing you guys a happy new year. I agree. I feel like the energy at this time of year is always exciting and it feels like a clean slate. But for job hunters, there's so much happening in the market right now that I think is a little murky to find your way through. So it's a really good time to talk about all this stuff.
Beautiful. Well, cannot wait to get into it. I did my best to give an intro, but I'd love to give you both the opportunity to intro yourselves. Ms. Dabblerer, can you let the people know who may be less familiar, who you are, what you do, and how you started doing it?
Yeah, happy to kick things off. Yeah, so I lead marketing at BitRobot Network. So we're trying to build the world's open robotics lab. So essentially, what that means is how do we kind of bring the deep in model of coordinating resources and incentivizing contributors and like operators to just support like data collection and like testing out robot models in the real world. And we've seen network scale with Helium and HiveMapper really well, and we think that there's a really strong application for that model in robotics. And we haven't really quite reached like the chat GPT moment for robotics yet. Like we've made a lot of progress. But one of the bigger bottlenecks around reaching that sort of goal state is scaling the amount of data that allows the models to be like more intelligent and generalizable. So yeah, I've been working with BitRobot for the past 6 months. And prior to that, I led growth and marketing at MetaStreet at Permian Labs, which is the developer of MetaStreet, which is a sort of like NFT lending protocol, as well as USDAI, which is a yield-bearing stablecoin backed by GPU collaterals. And prior to that, I was at Magic Eden, did some stuff and consulting work with like Solana Mobile. And then before Web3, just real quick, I had spent some time in traditional finance, working at one of the largest custodian banks and investment managers in the world. So spent a lot of work on the ground thinking about how do we scale the assets under management for ETFs and like kind of allow people to invest more conveniently and effectively and kind of like market to both like retail and like institutional investors. So that was like a really good launch point to coming into Web3 and thinking about how do you manage all these different like demographics and create and craft like the right campaigns and products that resonate.
Yeah, I always think that's interesting seeing how different marketers approach that, right? Because we do have such a wide. I mean, we always see that meme of like Twitter group chats be like, and it's like just 4 or 5 different people from like completely different walks of life. So I get it. Like as marketers, you gotta tend to each of those audiences. Real quick before we jump to Jules, can you give us like maybe 1 or 2 major milestones that you're especially proud of since joining Web3 professionally?
Yeah. So some of the things that I've been really excited to work on, as mentioned earlier, was helping to like kick off and launch Solana Mobile's go-to-market and building the ambassador program around that, and being able to like see sort of like the bonk hype plus like a lot of the organic content coming through to push it to sellout state and like a lot more and really see, you know, the product go from hey, is hardware a Web3 hardware product necessary to like, oh, this works. So seeing that sentiment shift. And then more recently, while I was at BitRobot, bringing robot fighting to Abu Dhabi during Breakpoint was a really fun moment for me. It was the first global iteration of the robot fight, and just seeing a lot of people connect IRL in the activation and see their like delight and excitement with seeing like how robots are coming like the progress of robotics is moving fast and how that's coming to reality was really fun, and just seeing a lot of great like social media content impressions and conversations come out from it. We had Raj and Anatoly fight against each other, and a couple of other like prominent investors like Kyle Samani and Mike Dudas, and it was fun to just see their banter online and bring some like fun into what we're building on in the back end, which is like very serious, like robotics, research and development work too. So that was like a fun thing to be a part of.
Yeah, that sounds like a dope activation. I know some of us might be a little bit overseeing the crypto influencers get in the ring. So seeing some robots get in there might be a good little mix up for a change.
For sure.
That's awesome. Jules, I would love to throw the mic over to you. Can you give us a brief background on like who you are, what you do, and how you got started doing it?
Yeah, but first of all, BitRobot is so much fun, and I get really excited when I know that I'll see them at a conference because I just love the activation. So great job. My name's Jules. I'm the founder of Common Fortune. We are an advisory that helps founders understand marketing so that they can build brand and go to market the way that they build the future. But simply put, we build and fix marketing functions and everything inside of them. So I'm sure we've all seen on the timeline that marketing doesn't work, it's broken, it sucks, don't spend money on it. And a lot of criticism is thrown at the marketers, but I don't ever see the conversation coming back to the organization. It takes an organization to nurture a function and to understand how it should be resourced and managed. And so there's a really large capability and communication gap between the founder, the C suite, and the marketer, and this creative function that can feel really squishy to people. When I think about why that is, most founders have never run marketing or PR or these really kind of colorful, squishy areas that they think can't be measured. And creatives really need to be outcome oriented. So the days are gone where we can do a $50,000 activation and not measure it or not be able to report back what it actually did for the business. And so, my goal is to coach and mentor founders so that they feel really confident about how to manage and resource this function. Hopefully, they hire great people that stay a long time and don't continue to turn over in these roles and have poor experiences and short career paths. And I think the other reason that we are known on Twitter is that we have the first mentorship program specifically created for heads of marketing and heads of comms in crypto. And so that has gone really well. A lot of our mentees get promoted, get raises, or find their worth in other organizations because they've learned how to kind of come correct in the C-suite, which is a really important skill, whether you're in crypto or not. I've been in tech for 20 years. Before my stint in crypto on the VC side and in Solana, I built marketing at some companies like Waze, sports betting, some shopping apps. And one thing that was sort of consistent is that even in these really big, well funded, like touchy feely companies, this is a function that constantly has to be advocated for and explained. And even if you're there for 5 years, you're still going to have peers that don't exactly get what you do. And so I think that's sort of well equipped me to help startups translate what it is that they're doing to a broad audience. And so at this point, I'm really enjoying being able to help here and sort of be a translator between the C-suite and their creative team. So that's how I got here.
Yeah, that's huge. I think in general, I mean, obviously the industry is evolving. So the level of talent that is specific to this industry is obviously not going to be as grand as it is in others. So I think, an organization like yours, where you guys are actually mentoring marketing folks in the actual specific industry of crypto, I think that goes a long way. I'm sure you're seeing the results.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think many arrive with really fantastic crypto native sensory experience, right? Like they can sense what customers want, they know where the company should go. What they may not have is the foundation. And so, even being able to teach someone how to write a creative brief, which will go a really long way with ROI driven, product leaders, I think is helpful here. And so I'm trying to help fill the gaps on both sides of the fence so that the team can come together and speak the same language.
And then, are there any milestones that you're especially proud of since joining Web3 professionally?
Yeah, I think, the fact that I joined in 2021 and kind of jumped into like a CMO role at a stablecoin company, I was proud of that on its own because I had no experience in this field at all. So, kind of learning crypto, while I was sitting in a position like that where I had to hit the ground running was like an onboarding goal for myself that I was proud of because I hadn't traded or done anything before joining that role. And then for Common Fortune, last year we gave away 100 hours of free mentorship training to up and coming mentees who may not have the sponsorship from their employer or themselves to join the program. And that has paid me back in growing my own network and just keeping an ear to the ground on what's going on. And so I'm really grateful for that time too.
Well, congratulations to you, Jules, on all your accomplishments. I'm sure you're just getting started in Web3. I want to get into getting the conversation actually started with an employer. But before we do, I think it was Jules who mentioned earlier, like the time. Obviously, it's the new year, it's January, things are changing, things are happening. What advice could you guys offer on like how to best take advantage of the climate currently in January? I mean, obviously, we're not at all-time highs anymore, but just in general, it being the new year, is there any advice that you could share to folks listening on how they can take advantage of this time to maybe kind of start working on getting their foot in the door somewhere? Either Dabbler or Jules, whoever wants to take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to hear from Debler how you're growing your team. What I'm telling mentees is that it in the past, being able to apply and possibly know someone in the organization were like the two things you would cross off the list is getting your resume right and then finding someone at the company. You have to understand that applying is sort of a formality, but is not really going to do anything for you to get the job these days. And so there's never been more ways for you to storytell, to use a cliched term, and market yourself by creating things. You can make anything right now. You can make a 15-second video talking about why you want the job. You can make a portfolio. You can make a one-page website. Like I can come up with 15 things on this call, but I think that tapping into really who you are and the strength you think you're going to bring to the team can lead you to a few key assets that you can throw out there really widely to tell people what it is that you want to do rather than applying for a specific job. So I think making the opportunities for yourself and helping people help you by resharing things like what you're looking for or what you can bring to the table is very different than passively looking for a job to apply to.
Oh, very, very well said. Very well said, Jules. I love that. Making opportunity for yourselves and helping others help you. Dabbler, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I totally echo what Jules laid out over here. I think, in this industry, market cycles and volatility are just inevitable. And it's something that if crypto is an industry that you're truly interested in making a break into, that noise shouldn't affect, the work that you need to do, which is to continue to read up, understand, and distill like what you're soaking up into content or just things that you can share with the community. And so I think like creating and like making a video or a portfolio is one thing. Another thing is maybe like writing your analysis or a thread or just like a quick tweet in reaction to an article or like a narrative that's emerged online. I think people really want to see, how you're thinking about things and ingesting where the industry information from the industry and where you think it could go. And like, even if you're shy about like tweeting sometimes, which I admit I am, I think one easy way to tackle that is reply and really foster online connections, because I don't think that I agree with Jules around like having a relationship or a connect who can help advocate for you is important when you're applying for a job. And one way to foster that and grow that relationship is to create an interaction online for yourself. And so responding to someone's tweet, liking it, and then like creating some sort of like cogent discussions on the timeline or in DMs as a follow-up is a really good way to like manifest and create those connections for yourself too.
I love the suggestion of like, if you're not feeling super inspired to tweet out yourself, just start replying, right? Like start replying. That's such a good strategy to actually start getting interactions out, getting your opinion out there, engaging with folks, getting some engagement back, hopefully. And we can all do it, right? We all have thoughts and reactions, at least to things we see on the timeline. And you should definitely have thoughts and reactions and opinions to content you see from a potential team that you want to join, right? And that's exactly what they want to see. How about when it comes time to actually interviewing? Now, again, in Web3 and in the world in general, an interview can be more formal, it can be less formal. Sometimes it can be just a conversation. It's like, hey, you're hired. But in general, what are some tips you can provide to listeners in regards to being successful and successfully communicating your worth and your value when it comes time for that interview or initial conversation? What are your thoughts, Jules?
So it's interesting. I have done a lot of media training for people going on stage, talking to reporters. Your interview for a job is sort of the same dynamic where if you sit there waiting to receive a question, that person might not be a great interviewer and they may never get to the heart of why you would be perfect for this job. And they'll ask you two or three sort of random questions because they're not prepared or, they're about to go to another meeting. And then you get off the call, you're disappointed and you like lose the opportunity. So instead, whether you're going on the stage at Breakpoint or whether you're being interviewed for your dream job, you need to go in there with like the three things that you are going to get across no matter what. That doesn't mean that, you aren't polite and you don't listen to the prompts you're being given. But like, if no matter what, I want them to know I am the world's best project manager, I'm going to find a way to get that out there. Right. Or a lot of times people will close an interview and say, do you have anything else you want to add? Well, yeah, here are the three things I want you to know, and one of them is this is my dream job or whatever it is. I just think that a lot of times candidates come in expecting to be prompted, or they're going to recite their resume, and neither of those things would really make me want to hire you.
Very well said. And again, it touches into like what you were talking about earlier of like there's a difference between being passive and being intentional, right? And if you can be
Totally.
intentional, you're gonna, you know, the results will show. Dabbler, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, totally want to piggyback on that, and just add that like being able to highlight strong talking points and story tell your experience and showcase that passion and interest is important, and being able to sort of customize and tailor that messaging to the role itself and the company itself, I think, is the additional work that you need to bring to make an impression that lasts. I think a lot of interviewers want to see how quickly or what your baseline understanding of the company or project that they're building is, so that you can potentially, if you're in the role, hit the ground running, and also show that you've done some homework to like see how you can like fit in. And so even if you're like coming from a separate vertical or a totally non-traditional background, you need to be able to package how the functions or maybe the success stories that you've like done could apply and resonate with like the interviewer and the project themselves. Like, how can you bring value, or like how could your experience as a project manager helping to organize in like this media agency and like create briefings could like help this like startup like enhance communication and like deliver on their briefs and their go to market faster. I don't know, like be able to just spin these prior experiences in a way that matters is, I think, super important.
Yeah, and again, just being intentional about highlighting that value, right? Like not letting the actual interviewer, the questions, even though their intentions are good too. They're on your on your side in a way. They want to get this position filled, but they don't know how to highlight you how you know how to highlight you. So, great points.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have something else to add, Dabber? Sorry.
No, no.
Awesome.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
the other thing is like, just to kind of add to what you were saying, Dabbler, like it's not obvious to people what the through line is in your career. And I think crypto candidates really have it tough because you've probably joined a startup that went out of business quickly. You've probably been a contractor a lot of places where you don't have performance reviews, or you were there for 6 weeks and you killed it, but for whatever reason, they ran out of money. So like it really is not obvious that you were great in those positions, or that adds up to 5 years of experience. And so that ability to distill that to one or two lines is why, or it is the reason it's so necessary to spend time on that before you go into the interview, because of the industry that you're in.
Now, how about when it comes to negotiating? I'm always interested, probably because this is where I'm weakest. I'm always interested to hear folks' advice, considerations when it comes to negotiations. What are some tips you can provide to folks listening on how they can successfully negotiate so that both parties walk away feeling like it's a win-win? Maybe we'll go to Dabbler first this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I approach negotiation in a pretty holistic way. So base salary is usually the starting point, but it's not it's not the only thing that you should be negotiating for. I think especially in crypto being such a startup driven industry, equity is definitely something to you want to factor in, as well as just also some other ancillary, but also important considerations, like, is this remote work or in person? Does that factor into, your lifestyle and preference around like commuting to work or staying at home to work? What are the health benefits? These are things that are not typically, guaranteed in a startup or crypto project. What are the kind of like travel benefits? Are there learning opportunities to go to events or kind of educate yourself? And so I try to kind of look at the package as a whole from a negotiation standpoint. So if we go back to like the base salary, I think there's a lot of conversations and also references that you can look into around like benchmark based on years of experience, based on role. What are some of the salary bands you can expect? And obviously you can like try to go for something higher and then kind of go on the back and forth there. And then you sort of like do that calculus too of like, are you more bullish on the company's trajectory in which, you're happy to, take that in equity sort of payment instead. And kind of when you're negotiating the equity side of things, I think it's important to ask around like, what was the last raise the project had, at what valuation you're coming in at, what valuation are they intending to get, and what is I think the most important question is like, what's sort of the unlock or like horizon for exit, because it gives you like a direction of like how the companies and founders are thinking about growing, and how that can translate meaningfully for you too. And then in terms of just like the ancillary stuff that I mentioned, that's really based on, whether you feel like, I think healthcare is obviously, if you're working in the US, like a very essential thing to have. But yeah, like negotiating that, if that's not in your, I think negotiating that is super important. And then yeah, like work from home and stuff like that. That's and so like if you're shopping between like, if you have the privilege of like navigating through multiple offers, I think that's sort of like the framework I would kind of orient my decision making around.
Yeah, overall, just having like a holistic view, especially in the crypto world, right, where there are so many pieces that you can kind of use to fill gaps or help fill gaps where there may be some. Jules, what are your thoughts?
I mean, no notes. I would do that.
Yeah.
um, the only thing I would add on the ancillary stuff is like, you can negotiate forever. So, I mean, I like to add in, some of our mentees are not happy with the title that they get, or, might feel like I am only getting to work on brand. I really feel like I should also be working on customer success or something like that. So, you can write into your offer letter that in 6 months from now, I'm going to have a review. And at that point, I'd like to be considered for the salary bump or the increase in responsibility or title or whatever it is. And you should not expect that they will do it at the 6 months, but I think it's a really good way concretely to have them commit to you to have an honest conversation about how things are going. And they might surprise you at that point and say, you know what, you're really close. I think we can get you a promotion by the end of the year. Or they might kind of show that they're not taking this seriously, but I think with a lot of things, you are not going to know how a job goes until you actually start it and get in there. And so when you buy yourself some optionality within that offer letter, there's a lot of little things you can add. You can also include things like severance or a performance coach too, if you're at the senior level.
I love that. I absolutely love that suggestion of, throwing it into the offer letter from the start of like, hey, not demanding anything, but just at least can we consider a performance review, at on this timeline. And like you said, no matter what, whether or not it happens exactly 6 months, which it probably won't, it kind of makes sure that everybody's on the same page on what your goals are, and you can adjust accordingly at the very least, right? So we are almost at time. We'll be here for another 10 minutes or so. Very grateful to our guests for giving us all of this insight so far. Every week we try to touch on one theme of the week, which dives into one specific aspect of the getting hired process. This week, since it's the beginning of the year, we're talking Web3 origin stories. So we did hear Jules and Dabbler's origin stories. I just want to expand a little bit on the idea of origin stories by asking how relevant is how you get started in crypto to where you end up. And I think you could look at this question both ways of like, well, it's very relevant or it's not so relevant. Dabbler, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Jules mentioned something earlier in the conversation about being really proud of herself for being able to, like hit the ground running and learn as she was like learn how to fly as the plane was being built, so to speak. And I echo I echo that sort of like sense of accomplishment and pride when it comes to thinking about like, where you start and how you can navigate crypto. Like there's no straight path, I think, in crypto, and um, there's no telling, where we're going to be too in the next year or 2 years, and in terms of our roles. Change is so inevitable in this industry. But I think foundationally, there are things I think unique to the industry that founders and projects are looking for in terms of certain skill sets. It's being able to, demonstrate some degree of like professionalism and accountability, being able to just do it rather than kind of plan or talk about it. So like execution over perfection and planning, being able to try things and experiment, and then being able to like partner and like seek out and be scrappy around maybe it's like a vendor or an agency, or maybe it's a integration partner, like being able to think like beyond your function, and like find, well, within your function and beyond your function, how you can really fill in the gaps with the connections and network within the industry, because we are all working with limited resources. But yeah, like I went from traditional finance to NFTs to DeFi to now robotics. And so like there's and none of those things I had prior experience with. And I'm sure like Jules had like a similar very like weird like pivot and journey to and across crypto. So I think like kind of having those sort of like foundational skill sets so that you can sort of like go into every role and be able to just learn quickly and execute is I think what's going to be able to allow you to like just evolve and continue to like grow with the industry.
I love that. And I'm a believer that we're all headed towards convergence on the technology side. So I think it's a little dangerous to describe yourself as, only crypto or only Web2 or just AI or whatever it is, because you don't just want to be that person, right? You want to be the person that can jump in on any project where you can be valuable. And so, as it relates to origin stories, I think that one benefit that both of us have probably had being in traditional industries is that when you sit on a team or you sit in an organization that is built in a traditional way, you do have access to the product team and customer service and engineering and sort of these classic roles that you sort of learn by osmosis and you start to understand what they do. And I think that a lot of the folks in crypto that I've worked with have been so remote and so isolated that they really have not come to see how these teams work together and how they can best function in a healthy way. And so, a lot of times, I work with someone who's like a 24-year-old CMO, and we've decided together that their next best move is to be like a marketing manager in a big company. So they're hoping to work, at a Netflix or a Disney or something, in a junior level role. And I think that's the perfect move for them so that they can learn how large departments work together and, soak up some of these skill sets from other senior people. So I would just say that anything that you are passionate about, any experience you've had before can be applied in a future job. And I would also say, if you look around the room that you're in today and it feels like it's not fitting you, then it's just like not the right organization or not the right team. And it doesn't mean that, there's not a place for you in crypto. There's a lot of different rooms and places. You just have to find it, and it's tough when it's remote.
Incredibly said from both of you. One of my favorite things about this space, and to share and scream loudly from the rooftops about this space, is that whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're already doing, it's most likely needed here, and we could use some of that, exactly how you deliver it. So come bring it over. And like I said, I love that about this space. We have made it to our closing questions. I have 3 more questions. We're going to try to get to them as quickly as possible so we can get these ladies out of here. First question is, number 1, what are your favorite and least favorite parts of working in crypto? Let's go Jules first.
Oh man. My least favorite parts are that where I live is remote, like a good and a bad part. I just wish there were more of a community here. I wish I didn't have to get on a plane and go to the Middle East to see everybody. So that's definitely my least favorite part. But my favorite part is that I love the breadth of personalities and technology and every day being completely different. And it was something that I was not finding in traditional tech and feeling like things were very stale there. So, you give a little bit to gain somewhere else, and that's okay.
Love it. Dabbler, what about you?
Yeah. My favorite part of crypto, and I think definitely the great parts of crypto outweigh the bad parts. But yeah, my favorite is really like the access to information, the access to people. Like, where in what industry can you find like such like close proximity to like, a brilliant founder, or like an infra builder, or like I and like be able to connect to them through friends in your network. I think that crypto, in terms of just flattening your ability to be close and see like thought leaders and builders operate, is really wonderful, and you see it every day on the timeline and also in conferences and like IRL like hackathons too. So I really appreciate that. And then my least favorite part of crypto would probably be like the um like probably like transactional
Nature.
yeah, nature, the
Yeah.
transactional nature. And I think in terms of like, I think about this a lot because I think about this a lot in terms of like the campaigns that we build and how do we like bootstrap growth and incentivize people only to see them maybe like leave the next day once they get their rewards. And so I think some of the I think this is only like a natural part of human behavior, but it's the realities of crypto that you deal with too, in terms of like network growth and like TVL and things of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, you take the good with the bad, as Jules said. What final advice, after considering everything we've discussed today in the last 30, 40 minutes, what final advice would you have for folks listening looking to either get started in Web3 or advancing their careers in Web3? We can go to you first, Devin.
Ooh, final advice. Yeah, I would say be curious and open-minded and find a vertical or like, you know, a topic in crypto that just really jazzes you or makes you like tickles you with curiosity and start to just read into it or, you know, write notes on it, because I think having crypto can be so broad and there's so many like applications of it. Having a little bit of domain expertise will, I think, make you stand out. And yeah, and that would just be like a really good like jump launch pad for you to like possibly create content and work from it.
Well said, Jules. Final advice for folks listening looking to either get started in Web3 or advance their careers?
Yeah, just don't go it alone. You know, you're going to meet so many people at conferences and in different jobs, and you know, they may not seem like they can do anything for you in that moment, but even emotional support and friendship is like valuable, right, in both directions. But you also don't know when you're going to run into them again, and you may be working together again, or they may be a client or can help you get a job, and so staying in touch with people, finding a good mentor. I think help is easier to find than you think, but you do have to, again, be proactive and put it out there.
Be proactive, be intentional, ladies and gentlemen. Go out there and get it. Last question before we're up out of here. Dabbler, for folks listening, how can we all better support you, better support the good work that y'all are doing over at BitRobot Network?
Yeah, follow us on Twitter, join our Discord. We have a lot of, you know, different robotics experiments that we're launching, allowing users to actually interact with and teleoperate hardware around the world. We're going to be showing up in conferences as well with more robots. So definitely come say hi if we're in the same city. But yeah, we're in the early innings of building like open robotics. And so it's definitely your sign to check us out.
Boom. Follow BitRobot Network on X. Go ahead and follow Miss Dabbler on X as well to stay up to date. Don't miss that next robotics event or activation at the next event either, because it sounds like the last one was a banger. Miss Jules, how can we better support you and the good work that y'all are doing over at Common Fortune?
Thanks. I would say just follow me, Julie_Mo, Julie Mo on Twitter. I give away a lot of tips, advice, help. If you know anyone who needs to like unfuck their marketing at their company or needs that olive branch between the founder and the creative team, I would love to be that person and bring in our team to support. So just reach out. And again, we do have mentorship sessions starting every quarter for CMOs, heads of marketing, and heads of comms. So here to help.
I might sign up for that, Jules. That sounds amazing.
I love that. More robots. Yes.
More mentoring. We so need
Yes.
it in this space.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Boom. There you go. God knows we can all need it. We can all use it. We can all use it. Julie Dabbler, absolute legend. Thank you so much for all the game. I myself, I know I've gotten a ton of valuable information out of the last 40 minutes. I hope listeners have as well. Again, this goes up obviously on X, also on Spotify, also on YouTube. Thank you so much for stopping by. I can't thank you enough. Any final thoughts, Dabbler, before we get up out of here?
Yeah, new year, new places to explore, new things to learn, new people to meet. So I'm excited. This space has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for hosting, and great to be on it with a legend like Jules.
Of course. Thank you again, Dabbler. Welcome back anytime. Jules, any final thoughts before we get up out of here?
I think we should just drop the mic. I hope you guys have a lovely, successful new year. And thank you so much. This has been a really fun conversation.
Amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you follow Julie Mo on X. That's Julie_Mo on X and Dabbler_. You'll see their handles on the YouTube link, on the Spotify link to help you out. And without further ado, that's been our show. We hope to catch you back here next week, Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, take care.